We were commissioned by Warwickshire County Council to deliver 3 exhibitions based around collecting local people's stories about the pandemic and the lockdown and their experiences so far. All very different artists, so Creative Solutions are creating a mix of audio and 3D installation. Julia is going to be creating a lighting installation and Michelle will be creating a wall hanging. And they're all going to be exhibited in different parts of Warwickshire. So the idea was that we would spend July and August and going around and meeting lots of different people, collecting and recording their stories about the pandemic, people from a very wide, diverse cultural background, people that had been shielding, people that had been working in the NHS, more frontline staff, people from public health, new mums and their experiences of having a baby through lockdown. So once we've collected all the stories, then the artists will interpret those stories and then put them into their design. The idea of the exhibitions, it's an artwork, so it's going to be interesting from an artistic point of view, but it will also be going out into the public, so it'll be reaching a wider audience so people can then understand other people's experiences and stories as well.
I work for Warwickshire County Council, who are supporting this project. As an archivist, obviously I think it's really important that we try to remember the past year and what's happened and how it's affected us, and so when we're doing these short interviews during the session today, that will form part of the legacy of what this project hopes to achieve.
So I'm Emily van der Venter. I work in public health with the County Council. So we commissioned this project because we really recognise the value in terms of kind of using the arts to tell stories, and it's been such a unique period of time that we've all been through. We wanted a unique way of kind of capturing some of people's experiences.
The artwork's fabulous. It's really nice putting a story behind it. And obviously as a community worker we've discovered that a lot of people have been really isolated and lonely. But seeing the other side of it is really good. I've connected more with nature, got to know the birds in the back garden and adopted a hedgehog, all sorts of things. So seeing this and the stories from all ages is really powerful.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. The detail's incredible. And to see just all the individual drawings around it certainly does tell the story.
The detail's really good with the sewing of the wording of what people thought, picking out toilet paper and walking, exercising and different things like that. So it's a good spread of what people of Nuneaton thought during lockdown and how they coped.
I think that people will be able to look at many parts of it and it'll bring a memory, or I just think they'll be able to, feel the same as a lot of that artwork.
It's quite moving because it makes you cast your mind back, and I think we've just been getting on with it for 2 years, almost not reflecting on how difficult or at times joyous it's been. So yeah, it's always good to reflect, and this will become part of history, I suppose, won't it? Like the Tudors and the Victorians, this will be the times of COVID-19.
It is beautiful, and it's really interesting how you have presented themes as a Rubik's Cube, and just linking the themes and just how you've presented it. It'd be really interesting to know why and how. You talked about the decision around putting the yellow and the friendship at the top.
Actually, to find those moments of hope and clarity and creativity that I think everybody found somehow or other is what kind of brings that box alive and is a good story to tell.
It's quite symmetrical.
Yeah, I mean the colours is trying to think of something that obviously an aesthetic, so you do go in and you want to look at it, you want to engage with it. So I wanted to, although each of the colours, as I explained, has a theme. So purple is quite often linked to creativity and it's a bit witchy for people who kind of think, and that kind of maybe sort of more spiritual side of things. Red is used as a medical colour all the time. Blue is used to talk about sadness all the time, and green obviously for nature. Not everybody was feeling bright and jolly, so it nods to the rainbow, but it's not the rainbow. It's got that a bit more subtlety to it, hopefully.
I think that initial reaction, so some of my colleagues that have been involved, seeing their face on the block, kind of that instant moment of recognition, because you don't quite, you kind of see it and then realise you're part of the artwork itself. It's quite awesome.
I've had this saying that's really stuck with me, that it takes a village to raise a baby, and there hasn't been a village during the pandemic. So what I really wanted to get today was people's stories about kind of what they perceived their village was going to be and what their village actually has been. And then I wanted them to draw it out for me in a series of circles, so kind of themselves being in the middle, and then those relationships going out and then connecting them up if they feel like there has been connections, or leaving them kind of floating in the air if there hasn't been any connections. And then from those drawings I'm going to go away and make a light installation.
It makes me reflect on some of the awful things that happened, and some of the emotional trauma that I think I will carry forever, and what some of the mums will carry from being isolated, not being with family, not being with friends at that time, and the kind of shock when it all happened, and it happening so quickly, to go into lockdown. And then I think it's a nice reflection to think about the future. So it's nice to actually think that we can now see family, we can now go to groups, we can now be together, we can see our friends, and it's almost like the circles move, and they're all kind of fluidly moving, that they might actually morph into a very different picture now and in the future. So it has the opposite effect of the trauma, where it gives you the hope and the kind of peace that things can actually come together again, and everybody can actually be together, and that's healing. The way that the art is reflects that, and it's structured, you can feel that hope